Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to take a look at this Syba compact flash to IDE adapter and see if it's a viable alternative to a traditional IDE hard disk in a vintage laptop. So let's look at the packaging for this adapter first of all. At the top here you have the branding, and then underneath the device you have some features listed stating that this will support up to 2 compact flash cards at the same time, that it supports the Ultra ATA and Ultra DMA standards, and that it supports a range of operating systems from Windows 2000 all the way up to Windows 7 as well as Linux. To the back you've got a few more features listed, including more details about its compatibility and the relevant standards it supports. Opening up the horrible blister packaging, please recycle, you've got the device itself alongside the included instruction manual, which is pretty pointless if you ask me. It just shows you what we could pretty much understand about the device given its name and the description on the back. The device itself is a black plastic caddy designed to meet the dimensions of a standard 2.5-inch form factor hard disk, including the mounting holes for base and side mounting, which we'll circle back to shortly. You've then got the 44-pin IDE connector at one end, and not one but 2 compact flash slots at the other end. The advantage here being that you can, in theory at least, install 2 separate compact flash cards in this caddy and expand your vintage laptop to a dual hard disk setup. The silk screening on the PCB shows which slot is the master and which is the slave, so providing your laptop's BIOS supports multiple IDE devices, it should be a simple endeavour to get it working. The laptop we're going to be using is my Olivetti Philos 46, which is a 486 laptop from 1994, which currently has its original 340MB hard disk in place. And as you can see, it's working just fine. You might be asking, what's the point in this upgrade then? And frankly, it's because of this. You see, the processor in this laptop is passively cooled. So the only thing making any sort of noise in this machine is the hard disk, and it's very noticeable. By installing the CF adapter, the machine should be completely silent moving forward, making it a much more pleasant experience for living room based DOS gaming. Additionally, this original hard disk also contains the original factory installation of Windows 3.1 and all of the associated utilities, manuals and software that were unique to this machine. And while I've covered off in a previous video how to go about backing all of that data up, I still don't feel comfortable using this machine routinely with that original hard disk slowly edging towards its inevitable doom. So replacing this hard disk with the CF adapter allows me to continue to use the device without fear of messing up that original install and losing any of the data on that disk. Removing the hard disk in this laptop is one of its many features that I just adore. You just need to lift up the keyboard here, and then over on the right hand side you've got a plastic caddy with a small ribbon to help pull it out. And then when you flip it over, you've got the original IDE hard disk inside the grey plastic caddy. This just has 4 screws holding it in place, and with those removed you can slide the disk back and remove it. And from there you can see that the CF adapter is a straight swap out in terms of its form factor, though one thing you'll need to watch out for is the hole spacings here. You see, the hole spacings on the adapter come from a standard that stretches back to around 1995 and is actually still used today on modern 2.5-inch SSD disks. But the problem is, my Olivetti uses a slightly older standard for which none of the mounting holes are in the same place. If this were a traditional spinning disk, it would definitely be a problem. The last thing you want would be for the hard disk to have room to move around and potentially damage the spinning platters inside. But on a solid state disk, it's less of a concern as they're able to tolerate much more movement without a cause for concern. This hole spacing problem shouldn't really cause you too much of an issue providing your device was manufactured after around 1995. The only thing you'd potentially need to look out for is whether the lack of appropriate mounting holes might mean that the device can wiggle free of the 44-pin connector. But in this example, where the disk is held inside a caddy, it's less of an issue. You'll notice also that this adapter is a shallower device than the original hard disk. This Olivetti originally took a 13mm hard disk, and the Syba adapter measures only 9mm in height. But again, this was simply a later standard, with most later IDE and SATA laptop hard disks being the shallower type. I'm taking care of this by just placing a small slither of foam inside the machine, which will stop the adapter from sagging and bending the pins in the caddy or working its way loose. It's a fairly low-tech approach, but it should work just fine in the absence of appropriate mounting holes. So with the caddy reinstalled in the machine, it's time to see if the adapter is recognised. And sure enough, you can see that the post messaging is showing a single fixed disk present. Brilliant, let's get MS-DOS installed. So that's now working just fine. Before I close off, I just wanted to check whether this machine would support having 2 CF cards installed in the adapter. So I removed it from the system and threw in this second CF card in the slave slot on the other side. I then put the adapter back in, powered up the system, and although it still booted just fine from the master CF card, it wasn't able to pick up the second card as a separate disk. I'd kind of suspected this given how this machine's BIOS is very restrictive, and it had been clearly written to only expect a single IDE device on the hard disk controller. I have every faith that in a more modern machine you'd be able to make use of that second card slot. Just take it under advisement that your mileage may vary. And there you have it guys, this was the Syba 2.5-inch IDE to dual compact flash adapter. It's an amazingly simple but useful device for getting any vintage laptop working without having to resort to using second-hand 20-year-old hard disks. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please consider leaving a like, and you can also subscribe via the button on screen now. Also, please follow me on the social handles shown on screen, and until next time, bye bye.